Hi there, Pretty Pride listeners. Thanks for joining me on this podcast. So today I'm solo today. Been an interesting week, and at the time of this recording, there's certainly a lot of noise in the economy. We're reeling from high interest rates, inflation, and it's starting to creep into just normal life for everyone, their work, their jobs, companies that are not seeing layoffs. It's definitely a precarious time. And, it causes me to reflect on a few different things. One being that, for most people, and I saw this stat the other day and it just kind of shocked me. It didn't surprise me, actually, now I think about it, that nearly half the people in their jobs are unsatisfied and they don't like their jobs. They do it obviously for the paycheck. They're trying to do good things for their family and they feel maybe a little stuck. There's a lot of things that be causing a dislike for their jobs, but but they don't know what else to do. It must feel like a very trapped environment. I get it. I kind of felt that way too in a lot of ways in my corporate job. But when you really step back from it and think, wow, someone may in their lifetime spend 90,000 hours at work and something that nearly half the people dislike. I mean, that's just, and we understand how that infiltrates into other aspects of our lives, right? Our personal lives or our free time, et cetera. Like it's such a massive impact. It's hard to actually put a number on even. And it is kind of a scary thought that, nearly the majority of people are going through this. So it's something to really step back and reflect on whether the job that you're in is best suited for you. It gives you fulfillment and purpose and all those great things, and that it helps you feel like you're providing value to this world and gets you uplifted, and you're around people and that give you energy and you feel satisfied. And then obviously good that it provides resources and wealth for your family so you can do the things you want and support them in the way you want. So, and some people think that's just not possible and it requires some effort. So, for those who are seeking that, there's obviously tools to kind of explore what else you want to be doing. If, that question, what if money was no object, what would you be doing? I don't think most people can answer that question. It requires some discovery. But for those who are trying to accelerate their wealth and in jobs that maybe they're doing real well and it feels like we're on the hamster wheel, what can you do to accelerate your wealth? And really the key in my mind, and it reminds me of like we look at on a daily basis, our smartphones. You're a smartphone that does tons of different jobs, right? I remember back in the day, I used to have a Palm Pilot. I mean, I'm probably dating myself a little bit here. And it took notes. It was a cool little gadget, maybe help set an appointment, but it really didn't do anything else. I still needed my phone separately, right? And phones were starting to come out. I had a calculator separately. I had my computer to search the internet. So I had all these still devices sitting in my hand. But nowadays, like smartphones are so sophisticated, there's so many different things. It does more than one job. And that reflects on what we have to think about for our financial lives to accelerate the wealth, because the typical financial advice has us sort of putting accounts in our dollars, doing one job, maybe two jobs at max, but that's it. And so we are not maximizing the efficiency and potential of our dollars and our wealth because of how we have been taught to sort of earmark them for different roles and responsibilities, and it makes it very inefficient and makes it difficult to build wealth. And so that's where in my world, when I was looking into this, I was on that sort of hamster wheel, working in jobs and thinking about how are others building their wealth in a way that they can't quit their jobs early or do the things they love and not have to be overly stressed as much on their wealth. And what were they doing to do that? And it took me down the road of exploring things like Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? To secure assets. Your home is not an asset. I always thought that was, things of that nature that kind of opening up your eyes to how others thought about wealth and, trying to pressure test what the typical advice was, where you have to invest. You have to invest in the stock market or not. And for some, it might still make sense, but is that the only place? And that's where it led me down different paths of exploring when I, kept on digging and learning. And that's, for those who are on this podcast, I applaud you because you're expanding your mind, opening up the world of possibilities, and so it started all back to me in around 2014 and 15, learning about things of how do I store my wealth better? How do I protect my family more efficiently? And where can I invest in assets that would bring me cash flow? And how can it be tax advantaged? Like all those things started coming to me, and the concept of, the financial freedom is creating cash flow that took care of my basic expenses. Cause then you can basically not, have to have that job unless you wanted it and loved it. And which that would be a great thing to have, to keep that cash flow going. But how do you build assets so that they can help support your expenses, your living expenses, at least your basics, right? And that's what I started learning. And, a lot of it started with, I mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad, learning more about that and how to think about our finances a little differently and buying assets, and trying to reduce taxes. But secondarily, where I store money that, I can control the financing function in my life. And that was, centered on becoming your own banker and Nelson Nash. And the combination of the two is really what helped accelerate my wealth, because I had a better place to store wealth than I could control and protect my family at the same time, but give me a financing source to fund investments while I'm storing my money safely that grows, guaranteed, tax deferred, and can be tax free. So I had a dollar that was protecting my family, storing my wealth, and giving me access to other money. And so it was doing tons of different jobs for me with the same dollar. And then secondarily, I can use those dollars to invest in things that would produce cash flow. And so I certainly got into real estate, different ways, owning real estate, which a lot of people who have built significant wealth in this world do it in real estate. And there's a whole host of ways. We have episodes that kind of center on that, but reality is that people have to learn kind of where they are best suited for real estate, because you can do it a whole host of ways. But mine was to do two things. One, private lend to folks who are real estate investors until I could get educated and learn more about it. I knew I didn't know a lot about real estate. So I was humble, and I still am today, to kind of constantly learn around like what were some options and what was a better fit for me. And so certainly one area was direct ownership of real estate, and a whole host of tax advantages. And some people don't want the headache of being landlords, and there's ways around that with property management. But obviously it became a introduction to real estate and learning about it and where it fit. And I own quite a bit, and a lot of people are building wealth that way, right? Owning real estate, appreciating asset, leveraging dollars, and creating cash flow in a tax advantage fashion, right? So that was one big arm to things. But it's also still storing wealth in a place that's going to do way more than what a bank does. So the bank would, obviously provide some liquidity and safety with dollars, but they really don't provide anything else. And that's what the becoming your banker, sort of the infinite banking concept, really helped to enlighten me, is that I can protect my family in case I died or became disabled, have a better place to store wealth, free from taxation and our friends at the IRS, but have a guaranteed financing arm that I could control and own instead of having to rely on the bank that really isn't doing all that much for me, and using that to control my wealth to invest in things that I can own and control, like real estate. And so the combination of the two are really massively beneficial. And that's just one example of it, where at a dollar that could be doing a dozen jobs for me, not only protecting my money, but storing it, giving me control of it, and then using someone else's money to even invest to grow my wealth and cash flow even higher. So, building that up over time has really become a staple and foundation piece of what I help my clients with. And it's helped me and my family sort of to build that cash flow, to be able to support basic expenses and allow me to do things that I want to do, right? And invest in things that I have a little bit more control over and understand better. And with that, not only gives me more wealth, but reduces my risk. Because I think the more you know about a specific investment and who you can and that you can control to some degree. We can't control everything, but the closer you can get to controlling it, you will reduce risk and still um, have you obtain good rates of return. That adage, I have to take on massive risk for gain. Yeah, we have to take risks. That comes with it, right? Investments. But you can mitigate that by doing due diligence, by exploring, by learning, by partnering with people that you know and can trust, that they have the experience and knowledge and know how to produce significant returns and investments. The closer you do that, the more you do that, the more you're going to not subject your money to loss and still can grow your wealth. And sometimes even at higher levels than you would see in the typical model where you just say, hey, let me just throw into the market and deal with the volatility of what's there and hope it's there when I need it. And that's what we've been taught. And it does one job alone. Here we can take our dollars, have them allocated to doing multiple levels of work for us, and get our employees to kind of work harder for us. And that's what can accelerate your wealth, give you more options and cash flow now, not later, right? We're taught to defer all that to someday when we get to use it, which, most people haven't been taught how to take assets and efficiently create income from them. To me, it would be hugely advantageous for people to figure out how they can do that today while they're working. Even if they like their job, stay there, right? Or in their businesses, have that cash flow coming in and exploring different asset classes that can create cash flow. And it's not even that it just creates cash flow, it creates options for people, right? Because you're in a situation where, creating enough income that it allows you to maybe get away from a job that you don't like and doesn't give you any fulfillment to something that has more meaning to you, more energy and more satisfaction to what you're doing in your jobs. Because back to how we started this conversation, our jobs become such a massive part of our world. Why not do something that, you can feel great about at the end of the day? And it isn't just putting, money in your bank accounts and food on your table, which is good, right? I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but getting some level of satisfaction that what you're doing is helping others, helping whatever matters in your world, that you get to contribute in that way. Your special talents, your skills, and your ability to something that will impact somebody or some group or whatever that you're working in, that you're leaving that impact and legacy for others, right? And that ripple effect will push out and impact people that you may not even realize, and it will impact more than just, your time on this earth. It could reverberate towards others and their children and their communities. And that's the type of stuff that certainly the Cranial Pride world is all about. And it isn't just about making money, but making impact. So in this short episode, I hope this was helpful. If you want to learn more about things like this and just the different lens on how to control and build your wealth and create meaning and impact in this world, I would urge you to go check out on our website my book called Wealth Beyond the Numbers. It's a short, simple book. It's not going into deep recesses of numbers and analytics, but it really can maybe help you think about how to gain wealth in your life, not just in your money, but in other aspects of your life as well. I know it has for me, and the things I've shared in there are really have helped me personally sort of see things in a different light, and really brought me more satisfaction and fulfillment on a daily basis. And it's a never-ending journey, right? You're never going to get there. You're not going to reach a pinnacle and then we leave this earth. But it's really one of those satisfying things to know that we're continuing to grow and impact more, and at the same time build wealth for our families so they can provide more, right? And that's really the fun part of the journey. So thanks for joining me on this podcast, and certainly like and subscribe to it. Tell your friends, and hopefully we all get to spread the impact that we have through these sorts of channels and education and sharing amongst each other. And that's really the power of the masses. So take care, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Cranial Pride Podcast. Thanks for joining me on this episode today. I really am grateful for you as listeners to the Perennial Pride podcast. I hope you're getting some tremendous value out of it and hopefully pushing you along your journey to financial freedom. I put this podcast together really to help you get more educated around your finances so that you feel empowered to live the life that you really want. And if you like the content that you heard today or watched, then I would encourage you to go to my website, perennialpride.com. There's tons of other content there. And you can access my book, Wealth Beyond the Numbers. You can buy it there on my website. It's a aggregation of a lot of great tips and tools I've learned to not only build my wealth in my accounts, but build wealth in my life and abundance and joy, and something that has a lot of my experiences in the journey that I've been on personally. Hopefully that can be also of value to you as you sort of move forward. So thanks again for being a Perennial Pride listener, and we'll see you on the next episode.